For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to Strat News Global, and welcome to The Gist, our signature show on foreign affairs and security. Again, welcome to The Gist. I'm Surya Gangadharan, and let me introduce you to our guest for this evening, Kartha, former director in the National Security Council Secretariat. She's been with the IDSA, the Indian Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis, and she's a well-known Pakistan specialist. As your guest, we are talking about Pakistan today, more notably about the recent statement by Pakistan's NSA, Moeed Yusuf, on the ending the back-channel talks between India and Pakistan. I have a small graphic here for you from the Tribune newspaper in Pakistan, where we have the full detail of what he told his Pakistani media. Okay, it's now over. It was India that approached us. They wanted to talk on all disputes, including on Kashmir. We clearly conveyed to them our demand a reversal of August 2019 move for resumption of talks. So that's what he said. He was basically referring to the India making Article 370 inoperable and reducing J&K to a union territory. So Kartha, we appear to have got off to a good start about a month or two back, and now suddenly things are again seen a dip. Is it because of that meeting between Modi and Kashmiri leaders?
Yeah, that's probably one input. I mean, in the sense that they expected that, there would be a larger voice for the Harriet, for example. They thought this might go into that kind of a inclusion. And clearly that didn't happen. And the fact that post the talks with the Prime Minister, the leaders, while each of these leaders said that yes, Article 370 and so on and so forth, the reality on the ground is that chapter is closed. That is, I think, very clear to everyone. And barring Mehbooba Mufti, who said, yeah, we should talk to Pakistan and all the rest of it, everybody else was pretty clear what is going to happen. They're talking of 35A, they're talking of the delimitation, they're talking of all constituencies that they were talking of. So everybody knows, including Pakistan, that 370 is done with. That whole question of separatism is off the table. They know that. So yeah, it's possible that this is a face-saving kind of a statement to say that this is what the Kashmiris are still demanding. They still want Article 370. So we're going to back them. It's possible, but if that is what is behind it, then I would say it's a very foolish statement. Yeah, because it gets you nowhere. It doesn't get Pakistan forward, and it doesn't get the Kashmiri leaders forward. It doesn't get anybody forward. So there you go.
I noticed a report in today's paper with the People's Alliance for Gupta declaration saying they are disappointed with the meeting. They said something else earlier. So is this in response to anything that came from Pakistan, or what's your sense?
I think that that meeting was first postponed, and then they just wondered what to say next. I mean, they have to say something to their public to remain relevant. They can't just say, oh, we went there and then we agreed with everything and came back. But clearly that is not the case either. I mean, they are still political actors in their own right. That is fine. So but then being political actors, they have to say all the right things. So that it's not surprising. And I think even Delhi would expect that they would say this, they would make this kind of statements going forward as a kind of bargaining posture, because they have the whole exercise which is going to go ahead in terms of statehood, what kind of government, all that is a bargaining process ahead. So you can expect that they will make such statements. And any ISI officer worth his salt should know this.
Yeah.
It would be an extremely foolish ISI guy who would think that, they would know what this means. So it's not, and I doubt, whatever Pakistan may be, their ISI Kashmir cell has decades of experience. So they know what's on the ground.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, does this suggest to you that the ceasefire is going to be the first casualty? Is that what Pakistan is hinting?
That will actually be the test to see what these people are about, because if that goes up, then you are in full reverse. Then it's a complete reversal. They may maybe do it for some time, but it's going to have an effect on the people on the ground. It's going to have an effect on how the Indian army reacts. It's going to then have a full blown effect on our posture towards Pakistan. So that
Yeah.
is actually going to be the test of what this statement means. I mean, the very fact that he had to come and say it publicly, to say that, oh, talks are off the table, means he's hoping for some kind of a political effect. So if that goes forward with the ceasefire also going for a six, then we are on a different set, we are on different issues completely. So one
Mhm.
hopes that that is not the case, because honestly, I believe that these talks should go forward. It's a very pointless exercise because, as I've said and I've written this earlier, Pakistan is never going to get Kashmir, ever,
Yeah.
right? And we really don't have that much of a, we are not dying to get hold of POK either.
Yeah.
It's how what the reality is. So you might as well
Yeah.
just finish the whole thing and open trade. Pakistan's economy is in grief. That's what they need. And so do we. I mean, to an extent, so do we. And so does
Yeah.
everybody who's acting Afghanistan. To stabilize Afghanistan, you need trade. So everything is linked to this, and they are using this as they usually do, as you know. They're using this to get a bargaining position. There's FATF, there's US leaving Afghanistan, all of this. So my sense is this is probably a bargaining tactic to get positioning on the ground. So let's hope ceasefire holds. Let's hope, because that's an army to army agreement. Remember, it's not a
Yeah.
political official of doubtful, veracity saying this.
Mhm.
Imran Khan's statements are one thing, but this is another.
Now, I recall this blast at Hafiz Saeed's residence in Lahore, and again, Moeed Yusuf has blamed us for that. They've called the raw agent and all that kind of stuff. We have some details out over there. If we just play that. Yeah, mastermind of Johar Town blast is an Indian citizen associated with RAW. That's Moeed Yusuf again. This is from, I think, Dawn. Yeah. So Tara, are we? Is this another reason for Pakistan to point the finger at us and again back off from every contact?
You see, first it was a huge embarrassment for them, because clearly that blast indicated that no, this Hafiz Saeed was in residence.
Yeah,
Because he was there. I mean, how awful is that for these guys when they're saying, "Oh no, he's in jail and he's there all the time. He's not in
yeah,
jail
it's a
at all."
lie. Um,
Yeah, so it was huge. It was actually quite hilarious. And then they tried to cover up, and then the person who actually said this was Fawad Chowdhury, who said, the information minister, who said that it was an Indian citizen, whereas Moeed Yusuf said it was an Afghan citizen. I think his name was Eid or some such thing. So there's some confusion there. He said
yeah,
then he went with this long speech about, Afghans were in Pakistan are by and large peaceful, but there are these Indian agents. So there's some mix up there.
yeah.
And the IGP Punjab said we solved the whole thing in 16 hours. So it's all this. If you remember, he also had earlier had this whole intelligence. We have this intelligence brief for India, which we're going to give to everybody, accusing us of the army public school blast.
Yeah, yeah, true.
2022. When they had arrested people, they executed people, and then they say we did it. It's all very strange. I'm just wondering, I mean, this is just a strain of thought, that Hafiz Saeed himself has become a bit of an embarrassment for Pakistan. You can't let him loose, and you can't arrest him. You
Yeah,
can't have him. So what do they do with him? So ideally, they would like him to be bumped off quietly and say, "Oh, oh my God, Indian citizen."
it
So
may well
he
happen.
yeah, it could just be that. But interesting part is that he also then went on to the drone attacks and
Yeah.
says, oh, the drone attacks is all to hide this. I honestly don't see why we should bring up drone attacks. I mean, I would say it's the reverse. We would say, yeah, the Hafiz side thing, therefore they did the drone attack on Jammu.
Yeah.
So it's an extremely convoluted argument. So I don't see, I can't make head or tail of it. And if,
There's essentially a lack of consistency between organs of government over there.
no, there isn't. I mean, each one is saying something else. So
Yeah.
as you saw in this statement, the information minister is saying something, and they're sitting at the same table, mind you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's saying something else. So it's a what you say. There is, as you're aware, there is one position which the prime minister's office takes. When the Imran Khan says something, his office cabinet says something, and what the army wants. Our I think our problem is trying to figure out how these two operate.
Yeah.
You're very clear. The army is the one who's calling the shots, but these people can play spoilers because Bajwa. Don't forget that General Bajwa is on extension.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, so any army chief who's on extension is by definition not as powerful as a sitting army chief.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
a problem there as well.
Now you mentioned the word bargaining chip. In the context of Afghanistan. Is all this also related to the perhaps relieving of the pressure on the Western Front for Islamabad, or is it because of something else? Could you explain a little further on this?
I think Afghanistan has still to emerge as a clear picture because, as far as what we're seeing now, the Taliban are going full tilt ahead. I mean, there are
Yeah.
reports of Afghan army handing over weapons to the Taliban, Afghan army retreating into Tajikistan. So, as on the surface, it seems that everything is going the way Pakistan wants.
Yeah.
Pakistan, ISI army wants, and that's the way it's going. But having said that, it's not as if the US is going to keep quiet on this. Their troops are leaving. But they are going to hugely pressure these guys to rein in the Taliban, which they are absolutely not doing. This is the ultimate of what they've always wanted was absolute supremacy in Afghanistan. And they're getting that. Once the Taliban are in power, they will then play the levers to get what they want. It's not going to be easy because the Taliban
Mhm.
have their own, ideas of where to go. But yet that is what they see. And additionally, what Moeed Yusuf also said, he says India should be ashamed to talk to the Taliban. It's
What?
like, what is this? It's so strange. He says they've backed the Taliban all these decades. We should be ashamed to talk to them. And we undertook a terrorist attack on a known terrorist chief. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's all so very convoluted that if it wasn't so dangerous, it would be hilarious.
Hilarious. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that guy Hafiz Saeed is one of the. I would put him several notches above Bin Laden in terms of his longevity. The terms of years that he's got, and the kind of damage he's done in two countries, Afghanistan and India, and various countries across Europe.
Hmm.
But he's still sitting there, and then he says, "Oh, India's done a terror attack." I mean, where is the balance in all this? So I'm hoping if India did it, great. But then obviously that I have no idea on that. But I do know, and I'm absolutely certain on this, because that's kind of the going talk, that Saeed has become an embarrassment to Pakistan. This
Mhm.
whole FATF thing, they don't know how to handle this as long as this guy and Lakvi and the likes of him are around. So if I was Zakir Rahman Lakvi, for instance, I would watch my back.
Mhm.
So
I mean, if
that's
they can get if they can get rid of Bin Laden,
yeah,
assuming they connived in the his
yes,
elimination to
yes,
the US, I mean,
yes.
Syed and all these other guys will be par for the course. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. But as long as they can blame us, they have to produce an Indian hand from somewhere, and
yeah,
say, "You guys did it." I mean, if I mean, if I think these people have UAE has gone on record to say that they have facilitated talks between India and Pakistan. So, and which Moeed Yusuf, by the way, first denied. Then he said, "Yeah, it is there." You remember in Kartha's interview, he said that
Yeah.
then he denied it. Now he says it's ended. So you can't go exactly by what he says. But
Mhm.
assuming that those talks are there and it has been confirmed, and it is between security officials, which means the DGISL on their side,
Yeah.
why would India go and do a blast at this moment when we are supposedly the ones who went forward to say, let's have talks?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
illogical. So
Yeah.
there's, like I said, there is no logic in their position. There is no thinking through. And what is frightening is that apparently they don't consult each other either.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
so it's pretty much one arm doing something what it feels like and saying something else. So I don't know what on earth is going on there.
Yeah. A last word on Moeed Yusuf. He is an American citizen. I mean, many of these guys who serve in the Pakistani government are lives in the US. I mean, how do you place him in this entire, scenario?
I'm not sure if he's an American citizen. Probably not. I don't think he has an American. I don't know. But he is an academic whom I know because I was there, who had a lot of influence in
Mhm.
Washington, United States Institute of Peace, which was way beyond his pay band, so to speak, because
Mhm.
the embassy was backing him to the hilt. Then there were people who were using him to get, info on Pakistan. That is one advantage Pakistan has, by the way, because
Yeah.
everybody wants ingress into the army, and these guys provide it.
Yeah.
Whereas we are relatively open. Anyone who wants to talk to us, we talk to them. I mean, it's a democratic system, and you go through the proper channels. This is different. So he is an academic with some contacts in Pakistan, with no power base of his own,
Yeah.
attached to the Prime Minister's office, which is questionable in terms of how powerful it is and whether it's actually calling the shots or not. That is
Mhm.
also controlled by the army. So he's like a kind of an echo chamber. Depending where the louder voice is coming from, he's going to say that. But knowing him, he's a very smart, very intelligent person. That's a different issue. Knowing him, I would say he'd go with the army because the army is the person who calls the shots. I mean,
Yeah.
that's right. But he is not equivalent in that respect to our NSA, who reports to who has a line of
Yeah.
reporting to an elected prime minister. We know if he says something, it means something. If this
Yes.
gentleman says something, you don't know if it's the actual position or not, or whether he's being used as a, like I said, as an echo chamber to say something in a which is not directly attributable to somebody else. So that's it. It's a very difficult statement. One hopes that he and whoever is controlling him has better thinking and tries to push this dialogue forward because there's really no other way for Pakistan.
So, final word. Where do you see things going now? Do you expect things to get worse between India and Pakistan? Things will continue to simmer. I mean, what's your sense?
I'm thinking in terms of terrorism, I think it could get worse.
Okay.
Because there are too many signals that there is a kind of a, they would like this to get worse in terms of our major urban centers. That might probably get a little, because like I said, there is clearly, the drone issues show that there is someone else trying to play the spoiler.
Yeah.
Someone within Pakistan who's trying to play the spoiler, and so far it seems he has succeeded. By saying the dogs are off, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it. Whoever's playing the spoiler has now got the upper hand. We don't know who it is, but in that case, that's not a very good thing for us. And I think it's if the US and other countries who have some influence there can pull this back and say, listen, you need to go ahead for your own good. And that I would include the IMF as well, to say that you
Mm.
need to stabilize your economy. For that, you need you need, they're talking of, geoeconomics. You can't have geoeconomics without India.
Yeah.
It's not possible. Who will you trade with? You can't just trade with China. Yeah, that's already the end of you. So let's hope it goes forward, but there's no saying. But let's see the ceasefire line. What happens there will be our most immediate indicator. So let's see what happens there.
So just to sum up, Pakistan, as usual, remains work in progress. We could see recrudescence of terror, perhaps in our urban centers, but that's something we need to wait and watch for. And everything else is, of course, up in the air, as always with Pakistan. And Kartha, thank you very much for that insight and that perspective. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And all of you out there, keep following us on Twitter, Instagram, other social media. Keep sending us your comments and observations. We welcome them. That's all we have for this evening. Thank you.